Alright folks, I figured I'd give this a shot, see if it helps anybody. I'm going to go ahead and walk on down there and show you what I do here. I know this will be a little bit of a long video, so you can fast forward through it, but this is me putting on Centipede side art. This is my second side. The other side's completed. You can see I've laid down a nice soft comforter there so it doesn't get scratched up. But I thought I would just do a video of actually doing the clamping and lining up and everything. I got it lined up. I got to move it just a little and then clamp it down, trim it up. So like I said, you can sort of fast forward through some of these things. I may speed the video up if I'm able to figure that out, how to do that. But let me know if this helps. So I'm going to go down here. Hopefully, I don't know if you'll be able to hear me or not, but I'll talk louder. So basically I got it lined up, and like I said, hopefully you can hear me. I got to move it over a little here because this black piece, so I got it lined up, but I'm just gonna move it just a hair. I can kind of tell where I want to go, because if you saw my other video, I can see a little imprint from the previous side art, and I think that is a good spot right there. I just want to make sure that I don't get any of this black edge. There's like a black edge around it. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go roughly around halfway here. And I'm going to clip this down. I got to trim this a little. Let me go ahead and clip this side first. And this is really just to clamp it in place so it doesn't move around. I'm just using a ruler. You can use whatever you want. I just want to cut this out a little bit so I can get that clamp down on there good. And like I said before, you gotta use a nice sharp knife for this, so you can get some good. I don't know if I got that off a little. I think it's okay. And then I can get this clamp in there, so now it's not going to move around on me. And then next step is, basically I'm going to take about a ½ inch before it gets there, so I'm like a ½ inch overlay. So I'm going to trim this around at the right spots. And this, you don't have to be precise at all on this, you just got to make sure you don't get too close. This is just to make it easier to work with. It's all a bunch of extra. Of course, each cabinet's going to be different shaped. The other tie turned out really well, so I'm hoping this one turns out just as good. Sometimes it's hard to get this thing started. Okay. Like I said, I might fast forward through some of this, so but you can fast forward through anything you want. You see something interesting that might help. I hope that's what the goal of this is. Hopefully I don't slice my finger open. That would not be good. especially on video. Now, I'm not a professional, so this is all figure it out as you go stuff. I still consider myself a novice at all this stuff. I know a few things, but certainly not an expert. But whatever I can do to help, I will do. You know, I watched everybody else's videos, help me with all kinds of stuff, help me figure out the clamping, you know, just gives me ideas. So maybe somebody will get something out of this, we'll see. I may not talk too much because there's going to be times I have to concentrate, so it may be just quiet. Because like I said, this is the most expensive part of it, really. You know, when you're finding a cabinet, I really like, the first thing I look for is the side art any good? You know, whenever I'm looking at anything. I got my Galaga over there. The camera's actually sitting on top of my Galaga, which is funny. But, you know, I always look for decent side art. Because if you have decent side art, everything else you can kind of find. You know, and you don't have to go through this, you don't have to pay for it. But I got this side art from Artwork Doctor, who I've gotten side art from before. And it's really, really good quality. It lines up just right. You know, everything's perfect on the dimensions. So if you were to get side art, just look up Artwork Doctor. He will definitely help you out. Good guy, very good guy. Been in the business a long time. And good communication and everything. Alright, so now we got that trimmed out. Let me just move this stuff out of the way real quick. And then I used this PVC pipe, but I'm not going to use it because it didn't really work that well. It still just kind of buckled, so I'm just going to have to use my hand. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here from this angle. So at this point, all we do is start peeling off the backing. And this is when we got to be careful. It's quite sticky. So it's really like a big sticker, this kind of artwork. Some of it's made differently. This I found works quite nicely. Okay. I'm going to bring that back as tight as I can. Kind of hold that down. Nice thing is, like I said, get a sharp knife. Just kind of slice that backing along there. I don't have to worry about a scratch because it's going to get covered up. Okay. Did it work? Maybe I got to do that again. Let me try that again. No, I got it. There it goes. I was going to say, pretty sharp knife. Alright, there we go. So we throw that to the side. Now, as we go like this, we gotta just run our hand in there, nice and even for maybe a few inches. And then this is the patient process. And go to the other side, and this will help us keep from getting buckles. I got a good glare in there so I can see if there's any buckles. You want to hold on to this if you can, so it doesn't go too far. But this particular side art it's thick enough where I'm really not getting any bubbles. It's just laying down pretty smooth. But as I go through, I still want to keep doing that. Knock everything over there. Now this is small enough here, I don't have to go to the other side. And I'm kind of looking, and this is going pretty good, but I'm going to go slow, using my hand. If you mess up, you can pull it back a little. It's sticky, but it's not to the point where you can't pull it back if you're quick enough. But I'd rather not have to do that. I did yesterday or the day before when I did the other side. But there we go. Now, and it's, you know, it's a sticky backing. It's not like it's glue. So once it's down, it's down. So that worked good. Oh, very nice. Now I'm going to take this ruler here, and I'm just going to move it back probably, I don't know, 2-3 inches. I don't necessarily have to clamp it down, but I think I'm going to do it anyway, just to keep it from peeling back. You know, I want this part to peel back. Right, so now, by the way, this is a lot faster since I've already done the other side. I feel more comfortable. I took a lot longer on the other one. But also, like I said, I'm going to be careful. So we bring this back. You gotta maybe pull it off a little. There, just a little. So that I can get to that backing. Because I don't want a seam right there. So then if I get to the backing on this part, wherever it is, if I can't try to see it here, there it is. There we go. Alright, and this is heavy enough where I don't have to worry about it flopping up. That side's giving me a little fit, but get this out of here. I got a little piece of backing right there I'll get off first. I don't know. I guess I didn't cut it right. There we go. Got it. Just to keep from having any bubbles. This looked like it was wrinkled, but it's just the backing that I think was wrinkled. So I was a little worried, like I already had wrinkles before I even put it on. And I can still see them, but as I lay it down, so far it's worked. Now I'm going to have to go, because this is wider, I got to bring my hand about halfway in. You want to keep it even as you go, but you want to make sure you apply plenty of pressure. And like I said, look down through there. You should get a good glare, at least on this particular side, Art. And now I'm going to go to this side and make sure it's okay. I sure hope you can hear me. And this is not a waste of video. But, whatever. I gotta do it anyway. If anything, I'm just talking to myself, so whatever, right? This is a little different kind of video for me. At some point, this is going to try to start flipping up on me. And I'm going to hold it back. It's getting close to that point. It's going to try to flip over. I got to make sure that doesn't happen, because I want to keep going gradually. But this is going on nice. Really happy with it. And I think a lot of it is because, like I said, I'm going to start holding it now. is because it's a little thicker. It's not a real thin side art. Some of that side art you got to apply it differently. I don't know what they call it. The name is escaping me on what they call it. But you have to use soap, and there's just a lot of different types out there. But to be honest, I mean, this is really nice. This is going on nice. I'm almost there. I'm not going to get in a rush, because then that's when you screw it up. You can't just start over. Alright, now I'm at the point where I can see those wrinkles just came right out. Whatever that wrinkle was there came right out. And look at that. Ta-da! Side art is applied. I don't know how long that took, but that was pretty good. That was pretty good. A lot faster than yesterday, because I've already done it once. And then this seam here, I gotta make sure there's no seam. So I kind of just use my hand, and I know I'm not gonna scratch it that way. But that's it. Now I can take this off, put that to the side, and now I'm at the point where I've got to trim these. So let's see if you can see this part. So I'm going to bend this over like such so that I can really see where that edge is. Now I'm right-handed, so I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this, because I gotta go like this. But you just keep this right up tight. You gotta be real careful on those curved corners, because you want to try to keep this right butt up tight, because when you put the T-molding on, it doesn't overlap. I mean, you know, a tiny bit, but you just don't want to mess this seam up, because it'll be obvious. So there's that part. I'll just cut that off. And it's got a little bit of a rough edge down there. I don't want to pick the camera up. It'd be too hard to get it up top off the Galaga, but it's got a rough edge, but that T-molding will cover that little tiny rough edge. But the sharper your knife, the less edge you're going to get. And it'll just slice it down through there. I know John's Arcade, the guy, John from John's Arcade, uses an X-Acto knife. I was thinking about getting one of those. See that? When I hit the corner, just gotta use the edge and come around, and this is no rough edges on that part. So that's in good shape. There's a lot of things I want to invest in. X-Acto knives and things like that. I got a soldering station that I've yet to use, because I don't know how to solder electrical yet. I spent a lot of years doing soldering copper pipe, but that's a lot different than electronics. But I got the same model that John at John's Arcade has. He can really give you a lot of good information if you haven't ever checked out his videos. He's got a ton of them. I love his reviews. That's a resource. TNT Amusements is another one I like to check out. Tom Tucky up there, who owns TNT Amusements, he does some good reviews too, and he tells you what they've done. Gives you some hints on what needs to be done to restore things, and he's an amusing guy. He knows how to do videos quite well. So again, I'm gonna try to concentrate here. If you do it this way, you're not gonna go you're not going to cut too much. You may have to come back around and trim a little, but if you keep this knife like this, you'll be in good shape. I know this might be a boring part because I already showed you what to do, and I'm just going to finish it, so I might fast forward this. We'll see after I review it. Or you can just fast forward it yourself to the next part that you see that I'm doing something interesting. Because after this is applying the T-molding, so I'll show you how to do that. Or at least how I do it. It's pretty straightforward. Especially if you're just replacing. One of the easiest things to do. Some of these curves are a little tricky. But that's the Centipede for you. It's going to have the curves on it. Now I'm restoring this Centipede back to the way it looks. Because it was a Devastator's. Somebody had taken it, painted the sides, changed the bezel, changed the marquee, changed the control panel to 2 sticks, 2 buttons each for this game. I realized it was a Centipede. I was like, alright, that sounds cool. Let's restore it. I thought I would maybe be able to take the paint off and salvage the side art, but the paint was too thick, and the side art just came right with it, so that did not work. Alright, I'm in the front here. I want to make sure this. Some of these edges are a little tough on the bottom. Not tough, but rough, because of the. But the cabinet's really in quite good shape. Again, I don't want to cut myself here, if at all possible. So I'm restoring this to Centipede quality, but you'll notice in some of my other videos, certainly the next one to come, when I put the control panel overlay on, I'll show you all the buttons and stuff that I put in. I actually drilled some holes. I found an original Centipede control panel so that I could get the trackball hole. I put in a modern day trackball that plugs into my arcade SD, because this thing was jammatized for the Devastators. Devastators was an '88 game, so they had used JAMA. So all the wiring's changed. The Centipede board was nowhere to be found. And if you notice any of my other videos, you'll notice I'm an arcade SD kind of guy. And it actually plays Centipede beautifully, and Millipede, which was actually my favorite, believe it or not. And I have my buddy has a Millipede. We played it so much, and so I know what it's like to play Millipede on the regular one. And the arcade SD just plays it really well. It just does. So I thought, why not put a joystick in, add a couple buttons, and all of a sudden you not only got Centipede, but you got Donkey Kong and Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man and 100 other games. All kinds of great classics that play really well on this particular board. There we go. So I'll show you that later. So that's it. Side art's on. Now we're trimmed. Shouldn't need that anymore. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back at the T-molding. Now I got this T-molding, I think I got this T-molding from Mike's Arcade, because I was ordering some other stuff. It's nice having this glare coming in here, actually, because I can see if there's any bubbles at all that I can get down with my hand. But I can do that later. But I don't really see a whole lot. But you can get T-molding from lots of different places. Mike's Arcade has good T-molding. I looked it up to see what was on the original. I like to go with original. I know TNT Amusements does some different T-molding to set the thing off. I think that looks nice. But I went ahead and with the original on this, black. And but I've got my Galaga got the T-molding from tmolding.com, and they have everything, good prices and everything. So you want to start in the middle, because this T-molding goes all the way around. Not all T-moldings do that, and I've got more than enough here. I think it's 20 feet, so I end up having about 3 feet extra. But I start in the middle, then that way, as it goes around all the curves, especially on the bottoms, it'll protect these corners. So, and I got my rubber mallet. You can see that or not. This was for tile, but it works really nice. It's a rubber mallet. So then you just start putting it in. I mean, it's shaped like a T, and it just fits in there. But before I get too far, I just start pounding. And I know that it's going to turn out good because of how I did it the other day. I was a little slower, just seeing how, if the edge buckled or not, but these corners on here are a little tricky. And add a little more oomph to your hammering. That's not too bad. I might have to glue that side art a little bit because it's so roughed up that it could peel. I might tack that a little bit just to make sure it doesn't come off. But that's the roughest edge because people lean it back and then they just drag it on that. And you know, the cabinet is 33, getting upwards of 34 years old now. Now that it's 2014. But the rubber mallet is the way to go, man. I didn't use that for the Galaga. I just used force with my hands, but this thing works really nice. You can just keep on going. You know it's not going to be buckled, it's going to be smooth, it's going to be in there nice and tight. But again, I might fast forward this a little. On the corners, I like to kind of push it in as tight as I can first, then come around and tack down the corner. You don't want to put it all the way on and then do it, because it could have little buckles in there. You want to just do it gradually, for sure. So I didn't even go that far. If I went any further, I could end up with a buckle in the middle, and that I don't want to happen. This edge is a little, that was that rough edge, but it's fine because it's just collecting up there, right there on the edge where the T-molding hits. But it's not quite as clean, and I'm being a perfectionist here, but it's not quite as clean as this one. So that's why you want that real sharp knife. I probably, if I do this again, I'll change that thing to a brand new one when I do it. The utility knife, that is. So, there we go. Get around this corner. I'm assuming you're going to fast forward here if you haven't already. Get towards the end. It's a little repetitive. And all you're doing is listening to me talk and fill space. But if you don't mind the sound of my voice, then I guess you'll be alright. I got a joust waiting on me. I got a Wizard of War in the corner that's not mine. I picked it up for a Facebook friend, a new friend of mine. Met off my Facebook group, and but he's about 4 hours away, and he really wanted it, and we worked it out. I said I'd pick it up for him from off Craigslist, and it's in pretty good shape. I mean, the cabinet's not bad. Those are hard to come by. But I got limited space here if you can't tell. So it's sitting in the other room. Once I get that out of there, I can bring the joust in and start working on that a little bit too. At least taking looks at it as I finish this. I got a mini arcade that I'm going to do. See that corner? I don't like wet, look, so I'm going to pull it back up. I got a mini cocktail I'm going to do. Not a 3 control panel, just a normal 2 control panel that I'm going to do for a special special family that I know. I'm not going to make it fancy because I'm going to give it to them. But I got a lot of extra stuff. I got a 60-in-1 board I'm going to put in there. Like I said, it's not my preferred, but big price difference. So, and it's got really a lot of good classic games on it, and they'll be thrilled. So I got one of those that's been laying around for quite some time. I got an extra LCD. I got all the parts. I just need a couple joysticks, but that's like 20 bucks, and I already got the wood, so I'm going to do that next. And I'm going to show you guys how I cut it. I know I had a request about cutting it. You know, how do I cut it? How do I route it? You know, what router do I use? So I'm going to go ahead and try to do a video like this of some of that so that you guys can see what I use and how I do it. But I also have a new routing table, so I'll probably test that out and introduce that in the video as well, which I think will be cool. Now this corner is giving me a little bit of a fit. Sometimes that inside of that, the bottom part of the T wants to buckle around these sharp corners. I think that did that on the other one too, so it doesn't stick in there. Now I heard you can cut that little piece out, the bottom part of the T. So if you cut maybe a little tiny piece out of there, and I know you can't see this, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. Well, then it'll suck around there and you don't have to worry about that buckling. And I should have remembered that on the other side, but I didn't realize it was actually doing it. And it's not too late because I could pull it back because it's right there on the bottom, because this is going to end right here in a second. And I may actually do that while I got this thing on the ground. This thing needs some casters. There's one missing, but I don't know if I'll do that or not. I should, but for me, I got here in the carpet right now. Don't even know if I'm going to end up keeping this thing. I like doing it, but actually I don't know if I'll end up keeping this or selling it. I know it'll end up being a good arcade for somebody else if they want to buy it. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. No hurry right now. You put your heart and soul into it, sometimes you don't want to let it go, but there we go. I don't know how long that was. We'll find out on the video, but let me come up here and grab the camera. I'll give you a little bit closer view. But that's it. Okay. So there we go. 35 minutes. Not bad. Using my little, usually use my iPhone, but I got this little flip that has and I have a little stand that the flip uses, but there we go. Let me come back over here, maybe you can see a little better. It's kind of a glare there, but give you some close-ups of the edge. That was that edge I was talking about right there, that you just cut out a little tiny piece of that inside of there, and then it comes around smooth. You can see that one there, it's got a little gap, and I think it's because it buckled as I came around. But I can peel it from here. and I'll cut that little piece out there. You can see that little piece that I cut out. That's a little tip that I found out that I forgot about on this one, but I remembered just as I was going around there. But I mean, there's not much else to show you. I showed you the other one. It really looks good. I'll go ahead. Alright, I got it stood up. My flip died, so I'm using my iPhone, but I'll splice these together. But that is the side that I just did. I'm not going to plug it in right now and show you. I'll show you that later on when I get to the end of the control panel and stuff like that, and show you some of how things work in the games. But that's it. I think that gives you a good look of what it looks like and how it turned out. And I am very excited about having my side art installed on the Centipede cabinet. You know, got the marquee, got the bezel, control panels. The only thing that's left, I'll just show you real quick, but I got an overlay for this. I got new buttons, new carriage bolts to hold the trackball in. You can see with this modern day, I actually had to drill more holes, so these will get covered up. This was where it was to begin with, right? That's the original spot, but my design was I wanted to have 3 buttons and the joystick. So I've got the joystick, which is a leaf joystick, which I think is going to work out well. I gotta decide that or not, because it's 8-way. I gotta see if it'll work with Donkey Kong and Pac-Man stuff for sure. But I hope so, because it's really nice joystick that came with the Devastators. It's hard to get these leaf switch joysticks anymore. These are leaf switch buttons. This one's not. I got one in there that I'm going to install. And then I'm going to put something on the back of that, fill it in so that it will get covered up with the control panel overlay and it won't be like a hole there. And then I got new carriage bolts for here. And I've got these. I've got the setup to get these. They work, but I got to get the setup where they light up, and that'll be the control panel. But just want to show you that real quick. But that's the side there, and that's the side I did the other day. So now I got side art on my Centipede. So I hope you got something out of this video. Let me know if you did, or if you didn't. You know, I guess if you didn't, and just your absence of saying anything will be enough. But if you do get something out of it, any tips or anything, or if you enjoyed it at all and thought it was instructive, let me know. But until next time, bye.